Dear listeners, this week's Sedra Parshas Boy begins with the words that God tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Boy el Paroi, ki ani echbadati es liboy. Come to Paro, because I have made heavy his heart, which would seem at first glance that God deprived Paro of his free will, that he had no choice and he could not even fulfill the request of the Eternal, because God made his heart heavy. So it's very difficult to understand. It seems to be superficially unfair that God deprives him of his free will and then he punishes him because he refused to listen to the request of the Eternal. And we also know from previous psukim that the first 5 plagues is Vayechzak es liboy. Paro strengthened himself his heart not to follow or fulfill the demand of the Rabbeinu Shalom. But for the last 5 plagues, it says Vayechazik Hashem es liboy. The Eternal strengthened his heart, and as a result, he refused to follow through, to fulfill the will of the Eternal. And the question remains, if the Eternal takes away from him his free choice, why does he punish him afterwards if he is not guilty, he is not responsible for what he does? But some commentators point out that God did not deprive him of free will, but to the contrary, that God restored the balance and gave him, and this was, he strengthened his free will, and therefore he did deserve his punishment. And the explanation is because Paro, anyone else who would have suffered the one plague after another, becomes totally broken and shattered and has no more resistance, and is ready to do whatever is demanded of him, and he has no will to go against what is requested of him. So therefore God strengthened his heart that he should be able to resist, but by that strengthening his heart, he restored his free will so that he received his original strength, and therefore he followed his own inclination and went against the will of God. Otherwise, if God has not given him had not restored his strength, he would have been totally shattered and broken and would have been ready to do whatever is demanded of him. He would in himself have no resistance. So therefore, by strengthening him, or Hichbadati es Liebe, making heavy his heart, he made it possible for him, if he wants to resist the will of God. And naturally, that this was Paro's desire to go against the will of God, and by strengthening his heart, God made possible for him to go against his will, but not that he was forced to do so. So therefore he was responsible for his action, and the Rebbeinu Shalom restored the balance, the normal balance, and therefore he was fully deserving of the punishment that he received afterwards. Thank you very much, and have a good